So hopefully this just ends all of this. Hopefully this ends all of this. Hopefully this is over. Hopefully this is the last time we talk about Sheryl Swoopes. Hopefully it's the last time, because again, like, she has gone, when we talk about going, I've talked about going full Paul Pierce. And that is basically where you say so many ridiculous things in the media that when it's all said and done, people don't remember you for your game. They remember you for the stupid stuff you say in the media. And the problem is, I think Sheryl Swoopes has actually gotten to that stage already. So hopefully, again, this is all finished. That we don't see it get any worse. But last night, Sheryl Swoopes went to watch Angel Reese play, which is good, admirable. Like, I don't understand why people have an issue with this, and I also don't understand why people have an issue with the Aces posting this. Like, you can make the argument that if it was anyone else other than Sheryl Swoopes that was crashing out, maybe they wouldn't be posted. But like, it can be true, but also like if a legend's in the building, you will post about them. But it is mad that she went straight from the absolutely unhinged Twitter space. Then in fairness, she was just in. She wasn't running. I do have to say that. Like, where they literally continued to make up facts about Caitlin Clark. Sheryl Swoopes, basically, in fairness, she finally admitted that she had no issue with Caitlin Clark, but it's the fans. And it is funny, though, because if you looked before the WNBA season, Sheryl Swoopes criticized both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But obviously, in fairness, both players publicly have embraced Sheryl Swoopes. And just, again, for a knock at Caitlin Clark, I think, I have this weird feeling she might be trying to bring it on herself. I have this weird feeling, like, again, this is just, I don't know, maybe this is like, this is trying to gain some infamy, because there are still a lot of people. It's very lucrative to be very pro Caitlin Clark, but it's also very lucrative to be very known as anti Caitlin Clark. And again, this is all just the ramblings of a madman right now. Like, nothing I say should be taken seriously. I'm not a news source. I'm just somebody that talks on the internet. But it is a very, very interesting thing to see how this is playing out. But the response is, like, in fairness, I don't think anything has been too bad. It's just been calling her bitter, haterade, nice L for Reese. Like, this is just normal. This is just absolutely normal, like, criticism. And then people saying, appreciate it, great player, salty, and possibly, I'm not going to go that far. There's no point having an opinion on that. Enough people already have. It's okay to acknowledge Swoopes an iconic basketball player, while also acknowledging her as a terrible coach who treated her players respectfully, a lousy b-ball analyst who alters stats to fit her narrative. I'm not going to say that last line. Cynthia Cooper carried you to championships. In her defense, Sheryl Swoopes has 3 MVPs as well. So like, that's where this whole thing, I'm like, you have to look at things both ways, where it's like, she can be objectively wrong in a situation. Like, there was no way, and like, for anyone being like, oh, she apologized privately to Caitlin Clark, like, weeks later. Like, it was not immediately. I think she replied to Caitlin Clark after Iowa tweeted out the, like, name Caitlin Clark, age 22, college games this, years in college 4, shots per game 19.7. I think it was after that. Like, so it was already a bit of backlash. Like, I think she apologized after everyone was wearing the "Don't Be a Cheryl" t-shirts after what she said, and that's fair enough. Like, and that's the one thing I really don't like about this situation is, like, there are some situations that are just banter. Like the "Don't Be a Cheryl" t-shirt from Iowa fans after she just lied publicly about your best player. Then, like, that's just sports banter. Like, that's gonna happen. Like, that's always gonna happen. In sports, no matter what, especially sports with a big fan base. But I really do hope, like, I don't mind her going and supporting players. Like, she doesn't have to support Caitlin Clark. She doesn't have to like Caitlin Clark at all. But it's just, where the issue with Sheryl Swoopes is that it's like doing her job. Like, her job is to be an analyst. Her job is, like, it's a WNBA sponsored podcast. Her job is to be impartial. And that's why, like, even, like, why I'll use the example of I think is she on NBC? It's like Natalie Esquire or something. Like, you can tell on Twitter that she is one of the most anti-Caitlin Clark people you will ever see. But if you look at when she's actually reporting on the games, she's not anti-Caitlin Clark whatsoever. She's objective. She has her opinions. Obviously, there isn't, not that she is an aces bias, she just trusts A'ja Wilson, which is completely fair. Like, obviously overrating the aces this season, but that's fine. They're back-to-back champions. It's completely reasonable to overrate back-to-back champions. Or maybe properly rate them. Maybe people like myself are just underrating the aces. So, like, that's fine. And that's the thing where it's like, even with Sheryl Swoopes didn't like Caitlin Clark, even if she hated Caitlin Clark with a passion, even if everything that has been said about her is like factually, or like all she has to do is just get the facts right. All she has to do is just report on basketball. And that is the one thing that Sheryl Swoopes just couldn't do out of all this. And it was even like when Stephen A. Smith called her out and said, like, you know too much about basketball to not mention Caitlin Clark. And it was like, it looks like it's something else. Like, it looks like it's not a basketball thing. And then she effectively, I'm not going to do an L. Duncan and quote on something, but she alluded to the fact that, yes, the reason she did not mention Caitlin Clark on her podcast or on the stream is that just as like a giving the finger to Caitlin Clark fans. So when it comes to Sheryl Swoopes, I'm like, she brought a lot of it on herself, but I do hope this is over. And like, I wouldn't mind seeing her like she doesn't even need to publicly apologize. A lot of people are like, oh, it would be cool to kind of see her at a go to a Caitlin Clark game. But what I wouldn't even mind is that, like, just the next time Caitlin Clark, like the next Dallas game she's covering, when Caitlin Clark's player of the week gets brought up with A'ja Wilson, she can gush for 10 minutes about how great A'ja Wilson is. But all that she needs to say is, Caitlin had a great week too. Caitlin had a great week too. Like, or Caitlin is playing well. Like, those 4 words, that's all you have to do. Like, you have to do your job talking about sports. And it's like, even if you dislike the player, you have to do your job talking about it. And that's where I think the big issue is that she has made this a black versus white issue, a Stephen A. Smith issue. Like, let's talk about Nancy Lieberman personally, when the reality is that all she has to do is just do her job and none of this would happen. But again, I like the fact that she is supporting WNBA players. I don't, some people are thinking this is just to stick it to Caitlin Clark. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. I think she just has supported Angel Reese. Although, ironically, the 2 times she has really embraced Angel Reese on the floor were against Caitlin Clark and were while she's in a ongoing feud about Caitlin Clark. But I'll give Sheryl Swoopes the benefit of the doubt here. But that is like, all she has to do is just do her job, and every single door gets open to her because she is a legend. She's one of the greatest of all time. So hopefully this is the last we talk about Sheryl Swoopes.